to another episode of Inside Eastern Utah. I am your host, Sgt Draper, and we are here today with Heidi Jones AC as well as Sgt Brewer from the Carbon County Sheriff's Office to talk about another show they are actually going to be highlighted on coming up on March 18th. This is going to be revolving around the cold case mystery that was solved of the murder of Loretta Jones, Heidi's mother. So Thank you for joining us, both of you. And you were in New York City recently. There is going to be an entire show about this cold case and how it became solved after so many years. So a very exciting moment in 2016 when that was solved. Can you tell me a bit about how this came about, how you two met, and how this cold case resurfaced in 2009?
Well, in 2009, I ran into Sgt Brewer at the Helper Arts Festival. I had, we were friends on Facebook, and I found him at the Arts Festival, and I told him that I had something I wanted to talk to him about, that my mother had been killed in 1970 and had never been solved.
Yes.
So he graciously didn't roll his eyes at me and said to call him on Monday. So then I called him on Monday and told him everything that I could possibly tell him. And then I proceeded to send him any newspaper clippings that I had from the original coverage.
So that was many years at what? You would be nearing 40 years since that had happened. And obviously a huge undertaking. What were your first thoughts when you first started to dive into this?
Well, she didn't see me roll my eyes. That
happened after.
I had sunglasses on, but no, it's I found it after she told me about it. I found it kind of exciting to look into it. I never heard of this case, but the downfall is when I started, I quickly realized everything was missing. No evidence, no case files. So all the newspaper clippings and stuff she sent me is pretty much what we had to go off of to start.
Yes, which is not a huge start. You kind of had a long road. It took 7 years. And, a lot of cases after 40 years, I mean, there's not a lot of hope, it might seem like. But Sgt Brewer helped bring some hope and a lot of hard work into this.
Absolutely.
Fast forward us to 7 years after that in 2016 when finally the man was convicted that was charged with the murder of your mother.
So when I had heard that Tom Egley had confessed to the murder of my mom, it was unbelievable. After all this time, he finally confessed. I was finally getting justice for my mom.
Yes.
It was something that I've wanted my whole entire life, and it's like a dream come true.
Yes, and it has been a long road. Finally, hopefully some closure, and like you said, justice came after so many years. And what was that moment like for you?
It was a neat phone call to make.
Yes.
We're another state away. We're in Colorado when we finally got the confession, and it's almost surreal. It just didn't feel correct. It was like
this is happening.
Right, and I was shaking when I made the phone call and tried to ease her into it, but it was something I'd waited for quite a long time to give, and it felt good. It felt really good.
It's really a remarkable story. According to statistics, only about 1% of cold cases are solved, and this was at the time the longest standing cold case in Utah. Is that correct?
Yes.
So after many years, finally some justice, and now with it being such a unique story, other people want to tell it, obviously.
Right.
So tell us about this show that is going to be highlighting the entire case and the solving of it, all of that stuff.
So in December, Sgt Brewer, myself, Lori Kulo, Jim Kulo Jr., we all flew to New York City, to Manhattan, and we were interviewed by Paula Zahn for her show On the Case with Paula Zahn. They came here and they interviewed Wally Hendricks from the Carbon County Sheriff's Office, Gene Strait, Jeremy Humes, my sister Carolyn Kendall, and then they also did some filming out at the cemetery in Elmo.
So, and that is going to be, that was a few months ago, but now
Right.
here on March 18th, they're finally going to be airing the episode.
Right.
And it's going to be highlighting all the hard work that went into this case, which was a big undertaking. Tell me a bit about the process in New York. How was it?
New York is unbelievable.
Yes.
When, our day, we flew in on Monday, Tuesday we filmed. And we all took turns with, going in and being interviewed by Paula, and her staff is amazing. And, you just tell your story as best as you can.
Yes. And we were talking before this, obviously a big crew out there that you were working with in New York, and apparently Sgt Brewer needed a bit of makeup to be all ready to go.
Just a little bit.
Heidi just needed a quick little swipe on the lips, and she was all ready to go, but Brewer had a little primping done. But
I think they had FedEx bring some extra shipments.
he said it was just powder, like a cloud of dust, before you could start filming. So how long were you out there for? How long did the process take?
We flew in Monday, filmed on Tuesday, and flew home Wednesday.
Oh, so a quick trip.
Right.
But,
Right.
and let's speak a bit to, obviously this is so fantastic for you, for your family, for this community, but as we mentioned, a lot of cold cases are never solved. There's not a lot of hope for them. And I think that kind of the hope from this is that it can spur other people to kind of undertake these tough cases and maybe see some hope for the future for them.
Absolutely. I'll let David talk about that, because it was a summit that you went to that started us on this. So
It kind of re-sparked it after 6 years, Went to a cold case summit, and what they do up there, they have you present your case, and there's probably 50 detectives and attorneys out there. Then after you get done presenting it, they'll fire a bunch of questions at you, see maybe where you left off. So it gives other, people think different, so they may have come up with something. But they thought of the exhumation of Loretta's body idea, which we had talked about years ago, but
Never.
I would have broke Loretta's mother's heart, so I never did it. But we decided to do it because unfortunately Ludine Jones passed away. And so we went forward with it, and that's pretty much what broke it open.
Felt like it was time. And
Yeah.
how can you give a little bit of insight of how different a cold case is versus a lot of the other cases you've handled? Is this your first cold case that you undertook?
My first.
Your first one. It's the longest one in Utah history, and you solve it. I think you're good luck or
It
something.
must be. No, it's the difference between a fresh and a cold one, of course, is I had to go to 3 states to get all my witnesses, to where in 1970 they were just all right here in Carbon County, which made a big difference back then. So, and then without a case file, knowing what had already been done,
Yes.
I didn't know what steps I was retaking again, or so. And to be fair with the gentleman we put in prison, I actually excluded him in the initial investigation because all I could do is assume that they had the wrong guy. So I started clean over, and he just kind of came back in naturally.
That is fantastic. It's obviously been a long road, and there's a lot that has spurred off of it. I mean, obviously, this show, there's been talks of a book in the works. Can you
Yes.
speak to that?
So myself, Brewer, and Richard Shaw are working on a book, and we hope to have it released sometime this year. And I have gotten a call from a movie producer. We haven't actually spoke yet, but we're kind of thinking that we need to get this book done first.
Yes, and then go from
So,
there.
because it would probably be a really good script for the movie.
So did you ever think all those years ago when you approached Sgt Brewer at the Helper Arts Festival that you would be here today? What was your thoughts?
I always had hope. I always had hope that someone, somehow, some way, would get this solved. And I was just fortunate enough to run into Brewer. And, I believe in divine intervention. I believe, the signs from beyond. And my mom has showed them throughout this whole process. My grandma showed her signs as well.
Yes.
But I gave I gave David a little trinket years ago when he first went to Colorado. And it's a little lucky leprechaun that I found out of my mother's jewelry box. And I gave it to him and told him to carry it with him to Colorado. And I believe that little lucky leprechaun has been a good luck charm.
Oh, that is great. And it's obviously there has been a lot of support from the county, from the sheriff's office. They helped out a ton. They were instrumental in not giving up and keeping that hope with you.
And the Attorney General's office.
Yes, worked hard as well.
Yes.
Can you speak a bit about the work that your team helped you along with? And
The sheriff's office has been great, especially cold cases like this that don't have a lot of meat to it in the beginning. It was nice to have a sheriff who was willing to just kind of give you a blank check and say, go find your man type deal. So, and then I did have, I had Detective Taylor in the beginning. At the end, I brought on Detective Hendricks.
Yes.
So I had a really good support team. If I had a dime for every time someone told me to just drop it, you've done all you could, I'd probably be a rich man by now. But the support was there. And if you have a good admin who believes you and willing to stick by you, then that's worth it.
It really helps.
Because they could have told me at any time just to let it go and move on. So, but they didn't, so I was happy about that.
So are there any other cases within the county that obviously this one was very unique, but are there other cold cases that might be kind of in the works, or was this kind of our big ticket item? This is the big one we were looking at.
This is probably the big one. There's a couple others I've been looking at that have not necessarily been ruled homicide, but questionable. So I've been kind of diving into those a little bit.
Keeping your eyes and ears peeled and open. Well, this production obviously is going to be aired on the 18th, and it is on, remind me the channel.
Investigation Discovery Channel.
Investigation Discovery Channel. And actually in the March 7th edition of the newspaper, we had an article. It was headlined about the murder mystery that is going to be highlighted on national TV. So you can find more information there, including time, date, channel, all the logistics, and learn a little bit more about the background of the case before watching. So be sure to tune in. It's going to be on March 18th, and we appreciate you guys joining us and taking a few minutes. And stick around. We're going to be back in a few minutes on Inside Eastern Utah with more.